Welcome, Grats and Gets. Here we are. This is going to be really, really exciting. So, as everyone knows, I've had my coaching services go off, and we've got a bunch of happy crumpers who are coming out. Actually, one of our crumpers is he's not one of the coaching clients, but he's a member of the clan. He just actually earned his UKTC top wall of the UKTC. Super proud of you, Josh. You did amazing. And then we have my brother here today. Actually, this is Philip. He's a pretty dope person. He's been playing Warhammer for a really long time, and he's looking to actually start playing better. So basically, what I thought would be really cool is if I just did this online and I went ahead and gave everyone an example of what we get in coaching. So if you're thinking about coaching, if you're not certain if coaching is for you or whatever, this is like a really good way for you to just be like, oh, that's what a coaching call is. That's how we figure this stuff out. So Philip, basically, he's been playing Warhammer hell longer than I am. But he hasn't really been in a very competitive place. And Philip is probably what a lot of people who are watching this are, which is the best of his group of friends. Because he's got a natural mind for tactics and he understands how to play the game. But maybe he's not always pushed by super high level players. So there's just some things that he misses. So if he did go to a tournament where people were kind of used to like min-maxing a little bit, he might be like, oh shit, this is different than what I'm used to, right? So he's probably where a lot of you guys are. So I figured this would be like a really good opportunity for us to just kind of see what a coaching call is. So we're gonna go through just a live call, and then that's basically it. All right, Phil. So how the hell are you, sir?
Great, man. Enjoying the beautiful weather where I am right now, which is why I'm outside.
Yeah, you bastard. He lives in South Carolina, where I will live when I finally move back to the States. All right, so Phil is a World Eaters player. I mean, he plays a couple different armies, right? Phil, how would you describe it? Yeah, you're all chaos. How would you describe yourself as far as skill level? Like, would you call yourself a dirty casual player? Like, you've gone to a few RTTs, you've gone to a few GTs. Just where about would your, maybe not skill, but where would your experience level be?
Hardcore casual.
Okay.
Like, I haven't done the tournament thing. I've put in a lot of time just in like one-on-one games with random people and stuff, but I haven't actually done the tournament thing. Main thing is that I've only actually played 2 games since 10th edition dropped. Right. So just there's been a lot of stuff going on. So I don't really have anything going on with 10th. I've played enough to know that I already like it more than really any other edition. That's about it.
Fair enough. Hey, I totally respect that. And I think you'll find that a lot of people are exactly right where you are. But your army that you're wanting to focus on right now is World Eaters, yeah?
Yeah, World Eaters, yeah.
All right, cool. So World Eaters, what is it about the army that you enjoy, and why World Eaters over some of the other armies?
All right, so typically I like chaos. I mean, I love the Night Lords. But with the current meta right now, chaos is more shooty, and I just don't really like shooty armies. It's not really my thing, and I like the World Eaters mechanics. First off, the model range is gorgeous, and you have to like the models. But I like the mechanics because it is a get in there and beat people in the face kind of army.
Sure.
But it's not as simple and straightforward as just go straight ahead. And that's cool. It's got a simple message, but there's a little bit of nuance to how that message is delivered. I like that.
All right, right on. So one of the things I want to ask you about World Eaters, because just so I can kind of grasp exactly where you are right now. The way I kind of look at it, you have really 3 types of building of armies that you can build, and because you have to build to win somehow. So 1, you can build an army that tables your opponent.
Yeah.
And if the opponent's dead, they can't score. 2, you can have an army. Well, maybe there's 4 types. 2, you can have an army that is going to be winning on primary. They're going to hold primary. Primary be damned. I don't care what you score on secondaries. I don't care what you do because I'm going to score 50 points on primary. You could score 40 points on secondaries and I score 0. I don't care. I'll still win because I'm denying you primary and I'm holding primary. Then you have those armies that are going to be like, hey, I'm going to get my minimal primary scores, but I'm going to max my secondaries. And then 3, you have your opponent who is just going to 100% deny you everything. Like, they don't really care about how high their score is, but they're going to deny you. These are guys, So some people could say that gene stealer cults, for example, might be a blend of both. Gene stealer cults might be able to table you, but at the same time, they can also be constantly doing these 3-inch deep strikes where you're just not moving anywhere and you're never able to get anywhere or accomplish any goals, right? So those are really the four archetypes of building a list. What would you say that World Eaters is?
I think World Eaters would. I mean, obviously they would want to table you, but I think that with World Eaters, I again hardcore casual here,
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
not that I could easily be wrong. But I honestly could see World Eaters actually doing well on primary because you could spam a lot of smaller units. Jackals are really great. You have your stratagems for sticky objectives. I mean, I could see a game where, pushing up the board and then you can just continue holding the objectives that you grab. I mean, you got to move forward anyway. So, I mean, it makes sense that you're taking over objectives as you're doing it.
Cool. And the reason why I ask is because I want to make sure that you have a good thought process for how this army actually functions before I get into optimizing things, right? Because sometimes people come
Right.
into the army and they're like, oh, this is how the army works. And you're like, no, that's not the way the army works. So basically,
Right.
when I'm looking at World Eaters, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at an army that absolutely 100% has the potential to table the enemy. But it's not all about just running up in your face and standing in your face. In some matchups, you do that, but not always. Because one of the cool things about your World Eaters is the fact that you're so damn fast, you can actually stage all of your guys in ruins to the point where they can't be seen, so nothing's shooting them. And you can stage them maybe 0.9 inches away from the wall, so it's impossible for your opponent to even charge you because they can't stand in the middle of the wall unless you're playing WTC style, and then it might change a little bit. So you can actually stage yourself where maybe you're holding 2 primary just from behind ruins, and they can't do anything until you come out to meet them. So maybe you don't even come out to meet them until turn 3, and at that point in time, they haven't scored any primary because they've been afraid to interact with you, and then they can never catch up. So you're 100% correct. World Eaters absolutely can play primary denial, and I think that's a great way to look at it. All right, cool. So let's do this. I want to just kind of talk real fast about. Let's run through these World Eater rules. So do you know what like the stats are? How easy it is for you to get any of your blessings of corn?
You mean the percentages?
Yeah, like rough. It doesn't have to be perfect, but like rough percentages.
I've got a real rough idea. I mean, I've rolled those dice enough to know what's probably going to come up and what's probably not.
Right. So, like, can you rely on getting lethal hits, for example, on one roll?
No, but you can definitely rely on +2 advance and charge, or the +2 movement. Because you're gonna roll at least a single double on 8 dice,
yes.
and
movement,
honestly,
yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
Okay, yeah.
And honestly, I've rolled. I don't know if this is the percentage, but every time I've done the blessings of corn roll, I've rolled at least a single triple, which is that advance and charge.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. I'm pretty sure the advance and charge gives you a 67% chance of rolling it. If I remember the math correctly, I could be off by a little bit there. So it's fairly reliable, but you can't rely on it, right? So whenever you're making your game plan, the thing that you need to do is you need to rely on +2 to move. That's the thing you can rely on.
Yeah.
Or you can rely on a 6-up Feel No Pain or a 5-up Feel No Pain on your Exalteds.
Right.
Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the army list that you were trying to propose. And I kind of want to go through this so that we can learn exactly what your units do and why we're actually taking them. Because I find this is one of the biggest problems with people when they're doing list building is they tend not to know why they're bringing the units. And I know we've spoken about it a little bit, but let's really dig into it here, okay? So the list that you sent me, it has Angron in it, Angry Ron, Disguster Boy. We've got Lord Avocado, the Invocatus himself. We've got a Master of Executions with the Berserker Glaive, which, by the way, is one of the most bananas enhancements in the game.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
We've got a 1x6 Exalted 8-bound squad. And actually, I'm really excited to see this because I know people say that Exalted 8-bound are not the bee's knees, but these guys are disgusting. They're really, really freaking nice. Then we're going
and since they got their point, since they went down in points, they're a lot more viable.
And they're probably still slightly expensive, but what they do is Pretty damn awesome. All right. Then we've got our 2x5 Terminators, 2x10 Jackals, 2x5 Berserkers, and a Bloodthirster. Okay. So immediately, before I say anything, I want you to explain to me what this list does, how it works. Let's just say we're doing GW standard terrain, which is probably the terrain you're basically used to.
So first off, I'm not married to 2x5 Berserkers. I was, I did, I don't know if 2x5 Berserkers or 1x10 Berserkers is a better idea. Simply because Avocado attach him to the 8-bound, to the Exalted 8-bound, obviously for the scout, but then also it's going to help prevent them from getting stuck because he can, do fallback and charge. The Berserkers, one unit of 10 Berserkers, that could also be a really, really good scout if wanted to. So like I said, I'm kind of on the fence between 2x5 or 1x10 there.
Okay.
But honestly, the way I see it, I see Angron, the Jackals, Avocado at the 8-bound, and then the Berserkers starting on the table, and the Bloodthirster and both units of Terminators not.
Okay.
And then
why would you not put the Bloodthirster on the why you want him in Deep Strike?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because it seems to me that if you just a threat of a Bloodthirster in Deep Strike, it seems to me like just that threat can cause somebody to misplay or maybe hold back a little bit on their game plan.
Okay, cool. So let's do this. Let's walk through these really quickly. So Angron,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone needs to defend Angron. Angron's disgusting. He's very fast. He's a huge force multiplier. He comes back to life. He's good in the army. He's 415. He's a little expensive, but we don't have to defend why he's in the army. Lord Invocatus generally makes sense, and what he's going to do is he's going to give 2 different units Scout 6, which is a really big deal. He also lets your unit fall back and charge, which means that we can't tie your 8-bound down. Now there is a little bit of an issue here because that some people don't understand. Invocatus, even though he joins an infantry unit, he doesn't become infantry, so he cannot walk through walls.
I didn't even think about that.
All right. He can't walk through walls. However, he is still fast, right? And he moves 12, and what that means is that he's going to be moving 14 because you'll have the +2 blessing, right? So he's still fast enough where it's really not that much of an issue, but you do have to be cognizant of that, okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So let's jump into these 8-bound here, okay? So these 8-bound, they're going to get a 6-inch scout move. So I'm just going to put in parentheses 6, and then they have a base move of 9?
9.
Yeah, base move of 9, so they're moving 11, right? So minimum, they're moving 17 inches turn 1. Most of our deployment zones are 24 inches across, so if your enemy deploys on the line, you're going to be getting a 7-inch charge.
Yep.
All right, that's pretty good. Then if we get the advance in charge, that gets a lot better, especially considering that World Eaters have a flat 6 advance strat.
Yeah.
So if let's say we do that, so then we're at 12 plus 11. What is that? 23? Yeah, that's 23 inches, and then they charge.
So they're hitting whatever
range is unbelievable, right? So these guys are crazy fast. And then plus charge. So I'm just going to type that in here as well. Plus 2d6 for your charge. And that could be very easily be 2d6 plus 1 because you're within Angron's aura. Now, the really cool thing about this is they hit hard as crap, and they can get everywhere. It's an expensive unit. What is it? It's almost 300 points for just the Exalted 8-bound, and then you add Avocado. So it's almost 400 point unit?
No. Together, that unit is 440.
Okay.
It's 300 for the Exalted 8-bound, and Avocado is 140.
Okay. All right. So that is an expensive unit, but that one unit can potentially move block your... Let's think not even damage here. That one unit can make it so your opponent can't leave the deployment zone turn 1.
Yeah.
That's powerful by itself. Now, is it 440 points powerful? Kind of unlikely, but against some matchups, even that by itself might be super powerful. So let's try to figure out what do Exalted 8-bound do. Well, they hit hard as crap, right? Because on the charge, they're going to have 7 attacks each. It's going to be, what is it, like Strength 7, AP 2, Damage 2? I believe that's what it is here.
I got bit.
Oh no, don't get bit. Let me just type this in real quick so I know I'm saying that correctly. So that's exalted. Oh, not the exalted champion. Get out of here. Exalted 8 pounds. Melee weapons. Yeah. Okay. So their 8 pound eviscerator is 5 attacks. So when they charge, it'll be 6 attacks. Hitting on 2, strength 6, AP 2, damage 2. That's pretty good, especially when one of the nice things that they can do is you can actually pair them with normal 8 pound to get them
They're also
reroll
+1
ones to win.
too.
What? Say that more time.
Remember, they're +1 strength.
Yeah,
Remember, they're also
strength.
+1 strength on the card as well.
So they get to that strength 7, which is really important when you go against a lot of elite infantry, because a lot of your elite infantry will be at that toughness 6. So like your custodes, stuff like that. So that strength 7 is actually quite a big deal. Okay, so these guys are rapid response because they move very fast. So we're going to call them rapid response. They can go anywhere you need them to. Then they are damage dealers. They are primarily going to be damage dealers against infantry and elite infantry, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, against tanks, if you say get this unit into a work truck, that truck's going to die. So you're still going to destroy vehicles. Like if you get that into a rhino, that rhino's dead. It's not surviving.
Yeah.
So this actually is anti-vehicle. Is it anti-Rogel Dorn? Not really.
Right, but especially with the exalted chain fists and on the charge, those are putting out some hurt too.
Yeah, and so when we look at the exalted chain fist, you would be getting 4 attacks with those, right? Hitting on 3s, so you're not hitting quite as reliably. Strength 15 on the charge, AP 3 damage too. So you're probably generally not going to be using that, but I do find value in popping that paired 8-pound chain fist on the champion to give him the 6 attacks with those chain fists. I definitely can see that. That would be reasonable to me. And you have the stratagem to be +1 damage. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, it's +1 to wound. It's +1 to wound against monsters, characters, or vehicles,
which is actually huge. Okay, so then you don't even need the chain fist a lot of times because that means that you can take your 8-pound eviscerators, which are strength 6, going to be strength 7 on the charge, and they're still wounding monsters, vehicles, and 4s. So bro, right off that unit is actually anti-tank as well, which is really sick.
Right.
So one of the things that people like to say, one of the complaints they have about World Eaters is that, oh, there's no anti-tank. Well, there is. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's anti-tank.
Right, yeah.
It might not be dedicated anti-tank, but it's still anti-tank.
Yeah, but they can do the job.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what this squad does. Now, the reason why I wanted to go so in-depth on that is now I want you to tell me what the Terminators do.
Man, honestly, I thought about the Terminators just as a. I didn't put this list together with the labels that you said to put a list together on.
It's okay.
I just all I thought about was describe it. Like opportunity, like just to pop them in when there's a crease in the opponent.
Sure.
Because they're going to be busy responding to, those big 8-pound. They're going to be busy responding to Angron, the Bloodthirster. If I start the Bloodthirster on the board or not, and I figured that 5 Terminators, that footprint isn't that large, so I figured that those can just come in and basically do whatever I need them to. Because the World Eaters Terminators are actually like they have an extra attack over the Chaos Terminators anyway. So they can more or less kill whatever I want them to, so long as it's not a heavy vehicle.
So the question is, how do they get there?
Yeah, I was just thinking they would come in, through reserves.
So they're going to come in through deep strike to get there.
Right.
So let's think about this, okay? And I'm really glad we're having this conversation because this is something that a lot of people do. If your plan is to get them into melee from deep strike, they deep strike, that's a 27% charge. At best. So if your plan to deliver them into melee is a deep strike charge, you're messing up because not only is it a 27% chance to make that charge, and don't get me wrong, you could modify it. You could spend a CP reroll, which puts it up to a 47% chance. Or you could, say, have Angron in range to be +1. So now it's at like a 33% chance. But even then, all of those still suck for reliability, right? But it gets a lot worse because if I know that you have, I don't know, say 400 points in deep strike, I'm going to take a 40-point Gretchen unit and I'm going to move him around the table, which is going to make your Terminators completely useless. Because you have to deep strike 9 inches away from my Gretchen, which are going to be 9 inches in front of the things that you want to charge. And against any, and when I say this, I don't try to sound like, I don't want to try to sound like, like a dick.
Yeah.
But against any competent player, that's what's going to happen.
And then you have, then you have 390 points worth of Terminators, just trying to fit them in wherever you can. That's not really good value.
So in my opinion, when I'm thinking about my deep strikers or my reserve squads, one of the things that I really like to do is those are shooting squads, one, because you don't need them to make the charge. Or you need an ability to reliably get them in. So for example, when I'm playing orcs, if I want to get my strategic reserve beast snaggle boys, which I do sometimes, which always throws people through a loop, I have a stratagem to give them +2 to advance and charge. So I can get them a 7-inch charge out of deep strike, which is much more reliable than a 9-inch, right?
Yeah.
Or what you do is you take like a deep strike unit that is 50 points, and you just deep strike them onto a objective that's not being contested, and then suddenly you hold that objective. But you wouldn't want to really, in my opinion, you probably don't want to use, what is it, 200 points for a 5-man of Terminators? You probably don't want to drop that just to put them across the board where they're never going to see action at all, typically. I mean, sometimes that might actually be a really good thing. But what I want you to think about is if you want to bring that 5-man Terminators just to drop onto an objective that's not in ever going to be contested in combat, then I want you to intend to drop those 200 points over there to do that. Not to be like, shit, I have to use these 200 points to do this.
That makes sense.
Because it's not necessarily the wrong decision, but we have to think about why we're taking it. And just initially, I see no purpose in taking 2x5. I could see if you want to use that 200 points to just, hey, this is going to hold this objective and he's not going to deep strike something onto it. Okay, I could see maybe you're 5-man over there, but at 2, I think you're wasting one of those squads for sure.
Would there not be logic to the idea of having just one of them ready to drop in deep strike and then starting the other one on the table?
So what happens when you start on the table? Right, that's a great question. How fast are they? They're 5 inches?
5 inches, yeah.
So they move 7 because your whole so they move 7. So they're definitely faster than other Terminators. Do they hit harder than your 8-bound?
They don't hit harder than the 8-bound, no.
Are they faster than your 8-bound?
No.
Okay. Are they?
But they are significantly
tougher?
Yes.
Sure.
Because you're talking about 2 up, 4 up with 3 wounds.
So they're significantly tougher against, say, indirect fire, I would say.
At toughness 5, also.
Yeah. So they're less tough, actually, because their toughness is 5 instead of 6.
Right.
So your strength 10s, which is like all your Earthshaker carriage batteries, all your mana cores, are winning them on 2s, not 3s. And they have Fiona Pain. Now, you're right. Their armor save is 1 better than an Exalted 8-bound.
And so is their Invulnerable.
Exalted 8-bound still have a 4-up invuln, right?
No, it's a 5-up.
Oh, is it a 5-up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. So, yeah, they're a little bit tougher. I would say they're a little bit tougher. So I guess that really leads you into the argument of like, but what do they do for you if you start them on the board? Because they're not going to hit the lines with the rest of your army. And if you wanted to hit them really hard as a second wave, why wouldn't you just take another unit of 8-bound?
And they're pretty comparable in points, too.
Pretty comparable, yeah.
It's 5 models versus 3.
And remember, 8-bound is 8-bound are even cheaper than Exalted 8-bound. And there's a really good point in having normal 8-bound as well. Because normal 8-bound, let me just pull them up here real quick. So we have the Exalted and we have normal 8-bound.
They're actually a lot more attacks, just at lower strength.
Yeah, but like it doesn't matter. So they're at strength 5 instead of strength 6.
And they reroll 1s.
They reroll 1s to wound, and they provide rerolls to wound to the rest of your army. So you actually want
and they automatically have scouts.
And they
already have
scouts, so you don't have to waste Lord Invocaduses on it. So they're stupid fast. And on top of all of that, don't they have the ability to maybe I'm wrong about that. I thought there was some way where they could come in from, maybe that was ninth edition, where they came in from reserves turn earlier. I might be wrong about that one.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
I don't think
I
they
think
can.
that was ninth edition. Forgive me for a moment. So basically, what you're looking at is you're looking at a unit that is infinitely faster, hits much harder, can start on the board, or you can start them in strat reserves if you want them, and they buff the rest of your army. The trade-off is that they're a little less durable.
But like a squad of 3 is also cheaper than a squad of 5 Terminators.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that.
Makes sense?
Yeah, that
So
makes a
that's
lot
the
of
way
sense.
I think of it. So let's go ahead and do this. I just want to take this, and I'm going to go down to 1x5 Terminators for now. And I'm going to say we just saved ourselves 200 points, and then I'm going to put in, then we'll just hold off for a moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Now let's look at 2x10 Jackals. All right. I actually like Jackals. I'm a big fan. But why do we need 2 of them?
Yeah. I wanted 2 of them for the icon rerolls on the Blessings of Corn.
Cool. And they're pretty cheap, right? They're 50 points each?
70, I think.
Okay.
70. Yeah. I mean, it's the cheapest unit that we have, but every time you have an icon in range of an objective marker for Jackals and Berserkers, you can re-roll one of the dice on your Blessings of Corn roll.
Yeah, and that's pretty nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a units of Jackals. And do they give you sticky objectives? Or is that your strat that does that?
It's your strat that does that, but they do have pretty sure they have a 6-up Feel No Pain.
Which is kind of nice, especially when you use the blessing that improves all your 6-ups to a 5-up.
Right.
All right, cool. So then we have 2x5 Berserkers. Now, 2x5 Berserkers, I actually like Berserkers a lot because, especially when they're led by a Master of Executions, because some of these guys are getting fights first, which means that they're unchargeable, more or less.
Right.
And that Master of Executions basically will kill what he goes for.
Yeah.
Because he's already got a damage 2 weapon that's going to have like almost 8 attacks. And it's going to be at like ungodly strength 10 with like damage 4 or something on average. So that's and it's got dev wounds, and he gets to reroll all hit, wound, and damage roll, or not damage roll.
And he has fights first.
And he has fights. Well, yeah, because he gives the whole unit's fights first. So I actually freaking love that. I actually don't quite understand running Berserkers without a character to lead them, whether it's going to be Karn or another Master of Executions. Yeah. Unless it's just simply a points thing. I love Berserkers. I think they're great. Question is, how are they getting to your enemy?
Well, all right. So with the original thing that I was thinking, and this is why I went back and said I was on the fence between 2x5 or 1x10, because if I did 1x10 with the Master of Executions, then I could do Invocatus's other scout move on that unit.
Sure.
And then they're suddenly a lot closer. And then their plus 2-inch move and advanced roll. They have the Blood Tithe. I don't see any reason why that would actually take very long at all to get them into combat.
So let's just do it. So let's see. They're going to move 8 inches because 6 plus 8, right? So
right.
6-inch scout plus 8-inch movement. So that's going to give them 14 inches of movement. And your average charge is going to be a 7 or an 8. So they're going to be reaching the lines turn 2. They're not reaching the lines turn 1.
Right. I don't know how to factor this in, but I mean, also I thought about this also when you were talking about the Terminator's deep striking and average charge range. Mm-hmm. There's also I think you said it was like 67% chance or something like that I roll for advance and charge.
Yes.
So I don't know how to factor that into that percentages.
Well, what you factor in with that is that you factor in something nice, right? If it happens, that's okay. Great. That's great.
Okay. All right.
You factor that in as if it happens, it's wonderful.
Okay.
So sometimes, I will actually do the things where I'll deep strike a unit and I'll try to have them charge in, but I'm not planning on them making the charge. So that's not factoring into my plan. I'm not saying, I need to make this charge so that I can accomplish this and score these points. No. My plan is to score my points and accomplish all my goals elsewhere. If I happen to make that charge, cool, bonus.
Okay. So you don't plan on something that isn't really good chance of being a sure thing. You don't plan on that as part of the.
Nah, man.
Okay, that makes sense.
My buddy.
You keep your expectations low on that, and then if it works out, then that's a nice surprise.
My buddy Shetzel, he's the admin in the Discord. Core Nidini or 99, freaking Norwegian. Anyway, he has a saying that I really really enjoy. He goes, "Your opponent will make every single 9-inch charge, and you will fail every single 6-inch charge."
That's my experience.
And if you keep that in mind, you'll be fine. Which means you want to set yourself up for 5-inch charges.
Okay.
Because if you fail a 5-inch rerollable charge, okay, maybe you can be a little upset by that. But if you fail a 5-inch, 7-inch charge, where it's really only 51% chance of making I think it's 56% chance of making that 7-inch, and you fail it, it's like, well, you flipped a coin. It's on you, bro.
That makes sense.
So you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you need to rely on something to happen. So if you don't, you never want to rely on that advanced charge. The nice thing is all your scout moves happen, I'm pretty sure, after you rolled the Blessing of Corn. If I'm not mistaken. Actually, is Blessing of Corn, is that the beginning of the battle round? Or is that the beginning of the turn?
That's the beginning of the battle round.
Nice. So you roll, so you do. Ooh, I need to check the steps, because you might actually do that before you do your scout moves. Regardless, a lot you're going first before you do your scout moves, so you'll move your scouts in position. So it doesn't really matter that much, but still, so you get pre-knowledge of that before you roll your advances and stuff anyway. But yeah, so just keep that in mind, man. Yeah. Plan on failing every 6-inch charge, and plan on your enemy making every 9-inch charge. That'll serve you really, really well.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right, so then the Bloodthirster. Explain the Bloodthirster.
I was thinking I had the Bloodthirster in there because, with the exception of Angron, the World Eaters don't really have a lot of reliable, anti-big thing. The Exalted 8-bound can certainly put a hurt on something.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, a lot out there that's, -1 damage.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I had the Bloodthirster for, because it's a lot of points, but it doesn't feel too egregious to me. They're 320 points,
mm-hmm.
But it's actually almost a full 100 less than Angron.
Sure.
And so that was that thought process.
Okay, so that makes sense. I completely understand that. I don't think I'm sold on the Bloodthirster and Angron.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Having the Bloodthirster and Angron, I'm pretty sure I understand your thought process here. And your thought process is, hey, I have this huge 8-bound unit. Then I'm going to have these Zerkers coming up behind, which they do have to think about. Not as scary as 8-bound, but they still have to be thought about. And then I'm going to have Angron on one flank. I'm going to have a Bloodthirster on another flank. And you're thinking, hey, threat overload. How do I just make it so my opponent just splits fires too much and screws himself, and then I wipe him? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And I love that thought process. I actually do something very similar with a lot of my orcs. The problem is it's just too many damn points.
There's too many points sunk to too few units. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's just too many, man. Because, your Berserkers, if you're walking them, they're dead, assuming they don't make the first turn charge.
Right.
Because your enemy is going to see them and kill them. Or let's say you're playing Imperial Guard or Eldar. Their indirect will slaughter those Berserkers. Maybe one Berserker survives, you know what I mean? But effectively, the unit's dead.
Okay.
The Bloodthirster, they're going to kill it. So then suddenly you've got your 8-bound and you've got your Angron, and they made it in. And all your enemy really has to do is survive your Angron and your 8-bound.
Well, and the Terminators.
You only have one unit of 5, and those Terminators are not making it until turn 2 at the absolute earliest, right?
And then whatever I do with the points from cutting the other unit of 5.
Yeah, and we're keeping that in reserve for right now. You're correct with that, right? So I just don't think that there's enough left there, because Angron's not hard to kill.
Okay.
And this is something I think a lot of people tend to overestimate is how hard things are to kill. Angron has a 2-up armor save, which is great, don't get me wrong, and he's almost always going to have cover, right? So he's going to shrug AP1,
Right.
AP1 stuff. It's just not going to matter. But he's not that hard to kill. I'm going to have one beast boss
he's going to
run
dedicate
into him.
that, yeah.
One beast boss, when he charges Angron, is going to deal 14 wounds to him. Right?
Okay. So it's that thing of like you're looking at what your stats are, what your rules are, and they look awesome, but you're forgetting that other people have that same experience with their army.
Exactly right. So Angron's not hard to kill. Exalted 8-bound are not hard to kill. This is the crux of World Eaters. World Eaters are not hard to kill. But they kill things exceptionally well. So what I think we probably need to do here is we need to give you a way to reliably survive turn 1. Because I know if you look at a lot of the stats, World Eaters have it's like a 65% win rate right now when they go first, and and like a 40% or something when they go second.
42 when they go second, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. Yeah. And that's because your list is going to work just fine when you go first. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But you're only going first 50% of the games. Regardless of what you think your dice say, you're only going first 50% of the games. So So let's do this. Let's think about how do we make this a little bit more balanced with even more threat and the ability to survive. First things I think you have to do is I think you have to cut the Bloodthirster. Or Angron. You don't have to run Angron, although I think Angron's probably better than the Bloodthirster. Because
so if you cut the Bloodthirster,
really high in points, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I understand. Because if you cut the Bloodthirster and then one unit of Terminators, that's
500 points.
530
points.
Yeah.
What could you do with 530 points for this list?
Well, you can go ahead and get your unit of 8-bound. You can get a 6-man unit of 8-bound.
Do you need a 6-man unit of 8-bound?
No. I'm not necessarily a 6-man unit, but you could go ahead and you don't have. My point is like you can go ahead and take 6 8-bound. However format you wanted to do with that.
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you. I'm picking up what you put down.
That's what I meant. You could do with that. You could do that. You could go ahead and get. You can get 10 more Berserkers and another Master of Executions to go with them.
How many points is that? Here, I'll look.
I'm not sure. I'm outside. This is all in my head.
Yeah, no problems. I'll look it up.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Sorry about that.
World Eaters Terminator Squad. I just need to know the exact points here real fast. Unit composition. It's 190 for the 5. Okay.
Yeah. So 190 plus 320. Yeah. So you're looking at 510 to cut those two things.
Yep. All right, and then we are gonna. Let's say we want Berserkers.
That's 200 points for 10.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Your Massive Execution. We're going to need a way to deliver them, right?
Yeah. So you want rhinos.
Yeah, right. So let's go with.
Because I'm assuming a Land Raider is too much of a point sink there for minimal for what it does.
That's the thing, right? Though, because the Land Raider is not faster than your infantry. Because your infantry are moving 8 inches, or if you're moving 8-bound, they're moving 11.
Yeah.
And they're moving through walls. So the Land Raider is not really that necessary. The Rhino, however, we're probably going to take, if we're going to take a 1x5 Berserker, we're probably, and a 1x10, we're probably going to take double Rhinos.
Yeah, because 5 Berserkers is only 100 points, so.
Sure. And I think 5 Berserkers is awesome. 1x10 Berserkers. Okay. I like that. And so that's going to be 200 for this. And 100 for this. Just so I can kind of keep points alive in my head.
Yeah.
I'm just typing it down for myself. All right. So, and how much is a Rhino? It's 80, right? World Eaters Rhino. I'm looking up. World Eaters Rhino, unit position. 75 points. Nice. So
That's what
150.
I was thinking. Okay.
Okay. So what we just did is we dropped 100 points by going to 1 by 5 berserkers. Then we went up 100 points by going to 1 by 10 berserkers, and we added so we added 250 points of units in the 2 rhinos and the 10 berserkers, and we dropped 320 in the bloodthirster and 120 and 90 in the terminators. So we still have so 250, that's 70 plus. So we still have 260 points to make up. But
And we have a total of how many?
now we have what's really exciting is both of these freaking rhinos. These bad boys are protecting our berserkers, and they're giving our berserkers 3 bonus inches to move.
Yeah, because of
So let's say we do go first. Boom, they still deploy 3 inches in front of the rhino. So now instead of going, so they still get those 3 bonus inches to move. So even though they might lose the scout move, they're still getting that 3 bonus inches, and they're still moving really darn far. But if your opponent goes first and they get all their damn shooting out there, your berserkers are going to be okay.
Yeah, because they have to shoot through the rhinos first.
Yeah, and then obviously when your rhino does it die, because your rhino will die, your berserkers, you just put them in such a manner that they can no longer be seen.
That makes a lot of sense.
Nice. Okay, cool. So I like where we're going so far. All right. So now we have 260 points to go.
And we have how many berserkers now?
We have
in
15
total?
berserkers.
15 berserkers in total. Would it make sense to attach a master of executions to the other 5-man unit? I mean, fights first is hella powerful.
So I like. So this is something that a lot of people just completely argue about, and I don't really know which one's the correct answer. I like it. I love running characters on my squads. Now the second master of executions is much less powerful than the first.
Right.
Right. So what do you think about, let's say, like Karn?
I mean, Karn's actually kind of beefy now, so I'm cool. I'm cool with Karn. He's actually not even that expensive. I think he's like 95 points or something like that.
How the hell do you spell Karn?
Kharn.
Oh, it's KH. Okay. Thanks. You know what I was looking up.
Yeah.
Oh shit, he still doesn't come up. I'll find him. I have no idea. Because I know he gets fight on death, and he also adds rerolls 1s to hit and wound, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
buffed pretty well. He does buff pretty well.
Yeah. Do you know how I happen to remember how many points he is? He wasn't coming up when I was searching him.
I don't remember exactly. It's right around 100. I can minimize this and look it up real quick.
Nah, I don't know.
Can you still see me?
I can always see you. I see you in my dreams.
Okay, so I don't have to have my screen up then.
Yeah, actually.
That's cool.
Yeah, your face is just frozen a little bit, but that's okay.
Give me just a moment. Neato.
All right, never mind. I got him. Oh, he's got a little thing over his eye. That's why he didn't show up. I got him now.
He's 80. He's only 80 points.
Yeah, okay. So he's only 80. He's the same as the Master of Executions, and he gives you rerolls 1s to hit and rerolls and 1s to wound.
He slaps pretty hard.
And he fights on death. And his melee weapon is 8 attacks, AP2, damage 3. Yeah, so he's your second one. You don't take another Master of Executions, you take him.
Okay.
And since this is the squad that you don't necessarily care if they like interrupt and kill, maybe you put this on. Or, that's actually really interesting. So then you have to think about your opponent's moves. So if you have a 10 mana berserkers and a 5 mana berserkers, I'm probably going to want to interrupt to kill the 10 man.
Right.
Which is a trap, because if you kill Karn, he still fights and kills you.
Right.
All right, I kind of like that. I say we probably throw Karn in with the 10 man, and then we throw your Master of Executions in with his 5 man. And that makes the 5 man easier to get in as like a surgical strike. So it makes it easier to
Why
get them.
Wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Why wouldn't you just make the other 5-man, 10-man have 2 units of 10 berserkers?
Well, do you need that extra 100 points as berserkers?
I don't know.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't actually know, but I'm thinking we probably want a lot more 8-bound in here.
Right.
And once we put Karn in, that's going to be an extra 80 points. So now we have 180 points left because we were at 260.
An 8-pounder 135 for 3 models.
8-pounder 135 for 3 models. So let me do this. 135. Let's go. 180 plus 190. 370. Doing some math, sorry guys. All right. So at this point, what we could do is we can. Oh, you're gonna like this actually. What we can do here is we can drop the other thing of Terminators, add in a 3-man of 8-bound, a 3-man of Exalted 8-bound, and then drop 1 unit of Jackals and have another 3-man of Exalted 8-bounds. So you're running a 3-man, 2 3-mans of Exalted 8-bounds, 1 6-man of Exalted 8-bound, 1 3-man of 8-bound to give everyone reroll 1s to wound. And then you have 10 Berserkers led by Karn, and then you have 5 Berserkers led by the Master of Executions, and then you have Angron. That's called a threat overload list.
That's a whole lot of hurt.
Yeah, so let's do this. Let's check this out real quick. Let's delete this Bloodthirster.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and delete these Terminators. Let's do this. We're going to add in 2x3 Exalted 8-bound. Because what can a 3-man of Exalted 8-bound kill? The answer is a lot.
Yeah,
You don't actually need a 6-man.
Probably most stuff.
A 3-man will still kill an Orc truck. A 3-man might not kill a Rhino, but if you need that Rhino popped, you can pop your +1 to wound.
Right.
Your 6-man doesn't need the +1 to wound to kill the Rhino. They might need the +1 to wound to say if they're trying to kill a big knight, right? They might need it then, and that's okay. So then we're going to have a 1x3 8-bound. So what? All right. And then and let's go ahead and add in Karn. All right, so let me just make sure I have this math right real quick. Karn is 80. Then the 8-bound is 135. Then a 3-man of Exalted 8-bound. Exalted 8-bound. Unit composition, it's 150. So that's going to be 300. And this squad is going to be 300. Then you said Invocatus is 140?
Yes.
Okay. Angron is 415. Master of Executions is 80 plus whatever the cost of his upgrade is. Jackals are about 70 each, so call them 140 or only 70 because we're only taking 1 of these squads now. 2 Rhinos for 150, Berserkers, and Berserkers. So let's just tally this up real fast, and then we'll finish up for the day. So we got 300 on the Berserkers, we got 150 on the Rhinos, we got 70 on the Jackals, we got 135 on the 8-bound, we got 300 on the 2 8-bound, then another 300 on those 8-bound, we got 80 on Karn, we got 415 on Angron, we got 140 on Avocado, then we've got another 80 on the Master of Executions. Oh, and actually, you're gonna be satisfied. We still have 100 points.
Okay, so check this out.
Then you can upgrade that second Berserker to another 5-man or something like that.
Yeah, so you could do that. Also, I'm thinking about the charge, like the ability to like help guarantee your charges.
Yep.
A regular Juggernaut Lord is 120 points, and it's got an okay like anti-infantry profile, but it allows units that it's attached to re-roll charge rolls.
Sure.
So would there be logic to maybe trying to figure out a way to attach him to maybe the other Exalted 8-bound unit?
Well, you actually have 2 other Exalted 8-bound units, and the answer is yes, but he's 120. I think you have 100 points left.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So maybe if there's a way to, would it be worth it to try to find a way to fit him in there and drop something else? Like, I don't know, the last unit of jackals or something like that. Get him in there and attach him to one of the exalted 8-bound units, and then make up the rest of the points somehow, some other way. Or am I overthinking that?
I think maybe I don't think it's a bad idea, right? But I think you'd have to drop something that you just don't really want to drop at this point, unless you
Okay.
happen to, unless you want him, because like you can build a different list running that, right? But I don't necessarily know if you need to, because this actually hits pretty damn hard here.
Well,
And
you could look at
what does he
what
do?
about okay.
Because your 8-bound's still moving 17 inches without him. So you still got a 7-inch charge if you're 24 inches, and that's assuming you don't have advance in charge. So do you need it?
No, you don't. You don't need it. I think that might be one of those cases of me overthinking something.
I think so too. I think he's good. I certainly don't think it's anything to overlook. But maybe with your last 100 points, you throw in, I don't know, just some shit that you like. Do you know what I mean? You can do another 5-mana berserkers if you want to get yet another reroll. You can do like a hellbrute or something like that. I don't know. There's a couple options. I'm not sure how to finish rounding this out. But does this make sense to you the way I'm thinking about it? So how does this army play? Explain to me real fast how this army plays on the tabletop. Let me read back to you what we got one time. We got Avocado, Angron, Karn leading a 10-man, Master of Executions leading a 5-man, a 6-man of 8-bound led by Invocatus, 2 3-man 8-bounds, 1 3-man 8-bound, 1 3-man non-exalted 8-bound, 1 by 10 Jackals, 2 Rhinos to hold your Berserkers. How does this army play?
That army just plays like get up in the opponent's grill real fast.
So this entire army can be on the front lines of your opponent turn 1. You can charge the opponent with your entire army turn 1 if you get advance in charge, basically with 100% success rate. If you don't get first charge, if you don't get the advance in charge off, you'll have to settle for, I don't know, 60% of it being outfly turn 1.
Okay, yeah, that seems a lot more synergetic than what I originally had written up.
Doesn't it, right? So that's the trick.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
Okay.
Sometimes what we do is we think that our armies have to be able to do everything, but what we forget is that when we try to do everything, we no longer
we're not really
going to win.
Exceptional. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Because now your enemy is terrified of your melee. They're terrified of what's about to happen to them.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So what we would do on the so I think we'll go ahead and call it here. So guys, this was like a way that I just helped him kind of walk through how we want to develop this list. So he had a few really great ideas. He had great ways to start. He has a fundamental understanding of the army, but sometimes we just don't quite understand how we're going to actually be playing the game. And we think of some units that on face value seem good, because like the Terminators are good. Like I'm not saying they're bad, right? It's just, are they useful?
Maybe
for
the value not. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Bloodthirster the exact same way. I like the Bloodthirster. It's just, does he really work in this list? Maybe he does, but you're not taking him and Angron, right?
Right, yeah.
So that's what we would do for this one. So we went through all the units. So we gave him a really fundamental, strong understanding of exactly what these units are supposed to do. And in our next coaching match, what we'll probably end up doing is we're probably just going to hop on Tabletop Simulator and we're going to do a deployment and we're going to practice the deployment and we're going to see, hey, how does that first turn actually go out? So guys, this was a coaching call. This would be like intro coaching call with someone who understands the game. Philip does have a fairly strong understanding of the game. Some people aren't quite there, and that's totally okay. What we do is we just take like a step backwards, right? And then I might have some people who are getting ready they're trying to make their WTC teams, and then we'll speak at a different level for that one as well. But this is basically essentially what a coaching call would look like. If you guys enjoyed this content, you know how to hit the like and subscribe button and join the Happy Crumpers. We've got the Discord where you get a lot of feedback constantly. There's also the members only section of the Discord where we're constantly going through lists and we're going through some of the latest strategies in the game of Warhammer 40,000. If you're interested in becoming a member, I'm going to drop my Ko-Fi link right down below where you can sign up. It's $4 a month. Support me as I try to support you. And if you're interested in coaching and joining the Adeptus Crump Stodes, Uh, it
So
is
terrible.
$100 a month, and you get a 45-minute call with me once a week. So it's 4 sessions for $100. It's kind of the best coaching out there. If you don't know what you want to talk about in a coaching match, and you're just like, "Hey, man, this month I'm not really sure what to do," one of the things that we do sometimes is we just save them all for for a private coaching game where it's just you and I, and we're just going through our coaching games for that month. People are doing it in order to get ready for a tournament. People are learning the game better. There's lots of different reasons. Anyway, hope you all had a great time. This is awesome. Philip, thanks so much for your participation. And we will catch up with everyone next time. Happy crumping.